Well, we're here at Würzburg and I'm still pinching myself because this place, sort of a couple of hours southwest of Vienna in Austria, is infamous, obviously, for the Würzburg Rodeo. Also synonymous with a huge amount of KTM success at this incredible iron ore mine, behind me right now. Really significant time. So we're here for the 2018 250 and 300 EXC TPI transfer port injection launch for KTM. But just, I guess, a bit of context, and when you think of where KTM's at in terms of their development of their two-strokes, it was really 1992, between then and 2017, when they brought out that complete new engine 12 months ago, which had a counterbalancer on it and a very, very different engine. And then here we are 12 months later, and they've added injection to it. When you look at KTM's production now on a worldwide basis, 50% of their enduro bikes are now made up from two-strokes, and that's not counting the minis. So when you throw some of the mini motocross in there, so you can understand how significant the two-stroke market is now for KTM, and those numbers are pretty much mirrored in Australia, where it's just a little bit under 50%, which gives some background to why KTM are pouring huge amounts of time and effort, into this machine. So for 2018, well, across the EXC range, there hasn't been a lot of upgrades. They've got white handguards, they've got black fork legs, a few changes to the fork stanchion, so they've more uniform bend that's allowed them to beef up the valving a little bit, just to hold the thing up in its stroke, but essentially, and obviously slightly different graphics. So essentially the bikes aren't a whole lot different. The one you're looking at right here has got a whole lot of power parts, bits and pieces on it, so that's probably not a good representation of a stock bike. So let's sort of home in on why we're really here, and that's to test this new TPI, or transfer port injection engine. Fascinating last night at the presentation, going through it, and with KTM taking us through, going from direct injection 10 years ago when they first started this engine, and all the trials and tribulation of that, to arrive. And it was only 2 or 3 years ago that they came into this transfer port double injection mechanism. So essentially what you have underneath here is there's a new oil tank, holds about 700 millilitres of oil. That's good for about 5, sometimes a little bit more, tanks of fuel. You've got a filler up here in the headstock, and there's kind of like, it looks like an esophagus, I guess, that runs down between the filler cap here and the oil reservoir. On top of that, obviously, you've got the fuel pump in the tank. By injecting your fuel against the direction of the airflow in those transfer ports, KTM actually found that it created a much better mixing of fuel and air and a more efficient combustion. The oil still finds its way into the engine cases, but it's now via a 39mm throttle body, not a carb. The oil is fed at low pressure by way of a diaphragm pump and atomised by the reed block. So by now separating the way that fuel and oil are ingested by the engine, there no longer needs to be a compromise in the fuel-oil ratio to ensure engine parts are adequately lubricated. Instead of the 50 or 60 to 1 ratio previously used for the carb bikes, the 2018 TPI bikes now run anywhere between 70 and 100 to 1 ratio. The tank's now moved backwards, I think about 20 mil, just to accommodate and create a little bit of room for that filler cap. We know that they've introduced this system basically because of Euro 4. Euro 4 essentially creates a much more stringent emission test throughout Europe. It's subsequently coming to Australia. So that they've poured in a huge amount of time and effort into this system. The benefits: increased fuel efficiency by a claimed 20 to 30%. Obviously lower emissions, which is the reason behind the move to the new injection system. You've got little things, obviously, the obvious thing is you don't have to jet the bike. It automatically adjusts itself. We're at altitude here on top of this mountain. It was at 1,500 metres earlier today. You don't have to jet the thing, or rejet the thing. So from a riding perspective, starts really easy. Compared to most two-strokes, idles super smooth, and it's not stalling on you the whole time. So when you put your goggles on, you don't have to keep revving it. And look, I guess there's some other little benefits. If you cartwheel the thing, and fair bit of that was going on today, you're not spilling fuel everywhere. It's a closed system. Which is kind of cool when you've got the thing in the back of your van as well, because it's not stinking out your van. So what did I think? Well, it was interesting, because I think I probably came into this sort of experience thinking, shit, I hope this bike is no worse than the last one. We know that KTM has had really a lot of trial and error and quite a bit of, I don't want to say failure, but they've really sort of struggled to match the same performance curve, the same noise, the same feel out of a two-stroke, and they know that's why these bikes are selling. But with the transfer port, the dual injection, the dual injectors, they've managed to find that. I found these things, they're not that different. It's just like a perfectly jetted bike the entire time. As I said, it starts a lot smoother, super torquey. I think the 300, obviously, you know, it's obviously torquier, but my pick today because it's added. I think it's sort of, this system has been adapted to the 300 even a little bit better than the 250 because it's got some more top end. I think some dyno figures sort of prove that. So yeah, an amazing system. It's amazing that, you know, KTM has managed to introduce this, meet some really stringent regulations, and actually improve the performance of the bike. You know, coupled with an all-new, complete new generation bike from last year, some tweaks to the fork, etc. You know, it's a really impressive thing.
Any downsides? Well,
it's expensive. As I said, a lot of money poured into these things to create them. You know, that's going to cost more than the dealer. You know, Jeff Lees, General Manager of KTM Australia, is sort of indicating somewhere around $1,000 premium to the carburettor two-strokes of equivalent capacity. These things are not coming until January, so we'll bring you a few updates on that in the meantime. But a lot of fun, really keen to get back on the thing and test some more miles, really, you know, test those fuel consumption sort of claims. We've also had the opportunity to talk to some of the engineers here, the chassis, the engine guy, the EMS guy, so we'll be bringing you a bunch of those interviews on the website, and hopefully we'll get one of these as a long-termer to muck around with when they hit the country in 6 months.